Hello, everybody. This is Terri Quinlan, and we are at the NAMM show, first day of NAMM 2023. And I just interviewed Kelly a little while ago, and she said, "Oh, there's Kitt. Why don't you interview him?" And so this is going to be off the cuff interview. And I'm happy to meet you. This is
Yes,
Kitt.
thank you so much.
And pronounce your last name.
Wakeley?
Wakeley.
Yes.
Okay. Kitt Wakeley is from Oklahoma. And I heard from Kelly that you recently won a Grammy Award.
Yes, I did.
Some people get nominated for Grammy Awards but don't win. So you're probably one of the first, pretty close to first Grammy winner that I've interviewed.
Oh.
And so you obviously music is a passion in your life. Tell me about your early influences as far as getting connected to music.
Yeah. Obviously as little kids, we ride we ride around with our parents in the car, or they play their favorite music on their record players, CD players, tape players, whatever. And Elvis was probably the first thing that I really got, in tune with. And so Elvis and the Beatles were pretty much all I heard for the first several years of my life.
I would say the same thing for me too. Yeah.
Huge influence right from the get-go.
Yeah. Especially the Beatles. I think listening to the Beatles even now. I went to see Paul McCartney at the SoFi Center. Just amazing guy. And then I went and saw the show in Las Vegas where they just bring them to life. And when you think about the vast amount of music that they contributed to the world, it is just hard to believe that it has grown so much. Too bad if I'd have known I was going to meet you today, I would have worn my Beatles shirt.
Fair enough.
But yeah, and Elvis Presley too was amazing, and I know Kelly's influenced by
That's right.
by Elvis Presley as well. So with that in mind, what led you to what direction did you go with your music? Did you play an instrument? Were you a vocalist?
I started out like a lot of kids. You have the school band, and I think I picked up the trumpet and 10 years old and kind of played that for a while, but I realized girls like guys in bands better than just
yes.
So I started playing keyboard and guitars and drums and that kind of thing, and keyboard probably being the number one thing in my lane. And I just stuck with that, joined different bands and played the proms and the dances and eventually the clubs, and that leads to recording and making music and trying to get yourself on the radio and any other ways that you get.
Oh, sure. If you hear yourself on the radio, that's probably
that's always
deal, right?
That's a good pick me up.
Yeah. So you've done that kind of history. Did you actually study music at school?
I started out studying music in school, but didn't get very far. Let's just say I wasn't ready to go to college yet.
Yeah.
But so I ended up getting a degree in something totally different.
Oh, what was that?
I got a degree in pre-law and another one in sociology.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I think a lot of musicians are incredibly intelligent people. And I gravitate mostly to friendships with musicians for some reason. I met one gal one time. She's an amazing blues guitar player, Lori Marvin. She's amazing. And I saw her recently. I think her influence also was calculus. You just never know. It's really funny how that kind of stuff happens. So it's good you went in the direction of music, because you must be pretty terrific if you've got a Grammy. Tell me about how did that come to be, and is it a recent project for you, or something you're working on for a while?
So yeah, I've been working on that passion, that dream of holding that pretty trophy they hand out for quite a while.
And all the applause from your peers.
Yes, yeah, having that affirmation from your friends and peers, it goes a long ways. But this most recent project, well, actually it backs up before that. I started recording with orchestras and putting those orchestras with rock musicians. So, for example, I would record with the London Symphony over at Abbey Road, where the Beatles started out.
Yes.
I would do those recordings and bring them here to the U.S. record with various musicians like Joe Satriani or Nuno Bettencourt, these really famous high-end guitarists and musicians, things like that. We put rock music with orchestras. There's a really nice lane, and my previous album, we thought we'd get a Grammy with that. We had 5 number 1 Billboard songs on that thing. And
what year would that be?
That was 2022.
That's recent. That's
yeah.
great.
And so, but that didn't get me the win yet. So
And you just go, oh yeah, that was nice. But no, it keeps the hope meter going, right?
absolutely. So we went back to London this past year, recorded another project. Was meant to be orchestral rock, the normal London Symphony, Abbey Road, path again. And obviously, in fact, I've recorded with a lot of the musicians here as far as with Joe Satriani and Nuno and everyone. But we couldn't get that project done in time for the Grammys to submit.
Okay.
So
what is the deadline, by the way?
This year it was September 30th.
Because they moved it, right? Yeah.
So what we did was we thought, well, let's release one version of the album with no rock musicians, just orchestra. And we got it released on September 28th.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the one that won the Grammy.
I wonder if it's kind of like a raffle when you put your chicken in the basket last, because maybe you'll win.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That really is. I'm sure you guys worked hard to make that happen.
We did. Making the music's one thing, but then you have to go out and convince all the voters that it's worthy of the Grammy. So you're traveling the country, sometimes 6 cities in 8 days,
Yeah.
4 cities in 7 days, just trying to promote the project, hope someone will listen and vote. So it paid off. February, we had a great night.
Awesome. What about have you introduced any of your music into film? Does that happen? Because sometimes music sounds like scores to film.
Yeah, so that's I've done a lot of syncing, licensing and things like that. But it doesn't pay near enough. This does, but the shows pay probably more than the music itself. But so this latest project, we have a lot of people who are saying, come to the table, let's talk about film scores and trailers and things like that. So all that, those doors are open.
And what about publishing? You did that too.
I keep the publishing rights to about 90% of what I do. But now I'm a producer. So I'm producing 2 major projects this year, 2 for next. And at least 2 of those, they expect to get at least a nomination, if not a win.
So is that, but a lot of times those awards come just because they made it on the charts, so to speak, and then it just became really popular. And I don't think anybody really writes music for the prize necessarily, right? So how does it evolve into connecting to the right target to get to that place?
Obviously, what I tell students and people who want to go down this path is you can't be writing the music, you can't be putting this whole project together to think someday you might win an award, because that lasts about 2 hours and then no one really cares.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to focus on what you truly have a passion for, what you want to write, and then what kind of quality are you going to put towards that project. And if the art is there, you said all you can do and you're satisfied, now you find out, is anyone else going to like it? You get it on the airwaves, you sell it, you do whatever, you spread it amongst your peers. And if you've done it right from the start, as far as really truly making art, because that's what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Now you can focus on, hey, does anyone think it's good enough for an award or to be in a movie or to hit the billboards? You have to be humble about what you do. And I think if you make art, you're humble, and you choose the right ingredients, that's a huge head start.
That's really well said. You use some words that I can relate to. I've met many, many musicians. But I think the bottom line is the passion that comes through when you, I just interviewed Taj Farhan a little while ago, and you know who he is too. The passion that he performs with, there's no stopping him. He's just like, next, he's amazing. And he's only 13.
Yeah. So
who knows where that's going to go at that age to be doing it, right? And so the passion involved and the musicianship, because the bottom line is you still have to sync with other musicians, some of whom have the same passion, some of them don't, but many of them do. And the whole thing about orchestration and the right conductor, the right way they put the music down and make it all come together. It's not a one-man deal for sure. Yeah. It's a team effort, and the same thing, practice. But when you reach that level of connecting to the right team members who make it all come together, it's like and then you get your awards and a rewarding experience, right? So I think based on what you're saying, and it's something you really can't teach necessarily, right?
No. In fact, I'm going back to different universities where I went to school, and they're having me come back and speak. And I'm like, you do know I'm the one you kicked out of your program, right? I want to make sure you've got the right phone number.
Yes, of course. It happens. I remember I write for a local paper, and I had a teacher tell me one time, "No, you're not any good. You're never going to make it."
That's good inspiration right there.
Yeah, I was like, "Don't tell me what to do," and it happens a lot. For some people, that's the opposite effect. Is okay. That means I'm going to try harder, right?
Absolutely.
So you can see where that would work. Today, there was a breakfast meeting, and they were talking about the influence of teachers and how a teacher is capable of shutting down that talent that's just waiting to come out, or the opposite. One little line is, "I think you've got it. I think you can make it. I think you should, connect to your passion and move forward."
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've done it all kind of in that direction without even trying.
Oh no, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. There's the stars definitely have to line up.
Yeah. Congratulations on it. So what are your kind of projects you're working on now? Is it anything you can reveal to the public and talk about?
Yeah, I mean, one is I'll keep it somewhat limited. One is a jazz fusion album. When they asked me to produce, I was like, yeah, let's go in here and get creative. Another one is a global project as far as global music, very African based. Then I'm going right back to Abbey Road a couple of times this year for orchestra projects that I'm doing. So producing is a lane that has opened up for me tremendously the past couple of years. So yeah, I'm really excited about. And there's a total of 4 for the next 2 years.
That's really awesome. I think some people stay in a genre of music and they don't venture out. Like some people only do country and so on. I know somebody who used to play blues all the time, and he went to country. And it's like when you see the versatility, it's like sometimes a talent comes forward that they didn't even know they had, right? So you're venturing out in a lot of different directions. It's pretty cool.
So when I produce for other artists, I produce a lot of pop, dance, and rock. That's usually what I do. So people kind of wake up when they find out, wait a minute, you work with orchestras? I'm like, yeah, I work with orchestras, but I've made my money for years producing for pop and rock and electronic music.
Sure. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I think that the whole thing about orchestration and orchestral music is a completely different genre from rock and roll. Or let's for a minute talk about rapping. Are you get any engagement at all with rappers?
Believe it or not, we are starting to have that. In fact, I met a gentleman a couple of days ago at the Endorsement Expo, and he has this really cool hip hop vibe to him, and he was playing a little bit of orchestra. I said, well, we need to talk. We listen to each other's music, and we hit it off. I've had a lot of rappers, I say a lot, I've had some really key rappers reach out and say, hey, do you think we could get a beat with the orchestra?
Yeah.
And it sounds very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
I think that's up and coming. I think a lot of young people, my grandson's one of those rappers who rap. He does rapping with connecting on the phone or I guess it's like Facebook or I'm not even sure what they're using, but they record live and they're all doing from a phone. So they're not even in a studio, but they feed off each other with different lyrics or different concepts or ideas. And they try and they're not necessarily looking to be cursing the world, but they're addressing issues like environment and things like that are meaningful for, that have some reason to be speaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the influences it's good that you're really so open. I'm going to have to listen to some of your music.
Yes, you do. Yes, please.
You're probably the first person I've ever interviewed. I have never heard your music.
That's okay. That's what pays the bills.
That's what makes the world go round. So I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you
It was
so
a pleasure to meet you on the cup, and I think we took care of it.
I'll take it.
Anything else you'd like to say to your audience?
No, I appreciate all the support and the opportunities like this. This makes it fun.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
all for watching. I hope you enjoyed our interview today.